Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Lutz, and in today's webinar, I want to give you an introduction just into the importance of AI in the workplace and how it enhances creativity and productivity. I also want to talk about some of the practical applications that AI has and also utilizing AI for things like research, summarization, and different techniques that you might end up using. We'll also talk about language translation, the capabilities that it has, and we'll discuss adjusting things for tone, refining communication, and then we'll jump into a bit of a overview of some of the different tools like ChatGPT, QuillBot, and DeepL Translator. But I got to tell you, there's so many of them out there that it was difficult just to narrow it down to three. But yeah, and as each day goes on, uh, I learn other ones that are out there too. But first, let's talk about something we just can't avoid, and that's AI in the workplace. Right now, AI is reshaping how office workers approach tasks, and they're doing this by automating a lot of routine things. And this, a lot of times, AI can help stimulate the creative process. Yeah, sometimes you're staring at a blank sheet of paper, and it takes a little while for that creative process to kind of sink in and start. I always say that ideas, when you're brainstorming, are kind of like popcorn. You're sitting in a room with people, somebody has an idea, not necessarily a great one, but once somebody has one idea and another, then the ideas start to flow a lot easier. And this is where AI can really help, especially with the creative process when you're kind of stuck. It'll also help you with problem solving, and it will help you with different challenges that you're presented with and different opportunities that you're presented with every day. There's no avoiding it. Anytime you hear about AI in the workplace, a lot of times it is associated with automation. AI driven automation handles repetitive tasks for effectively and efficiently freeing up employees so that they can focus on things that actually require their talents, their expertise, their brain. Freeing up employees means that the quality of work is also going to change too. They now have more time to spend on the things that they're an expert on. You could have smart assistants providing timely support for workers so that they're not having to wait on the line or wait for someone to be free. It also improves the overall workflow and also helps to reduce errors. Sometimes when things are kind of mundane, you don't always pay attention to certain things you're doing. As I've already mentioned, it helps with creativity, and it really does. Like AI tools can help generate fresh ideas when you're just kind of stuck in a rut. Or sometimes you're so focused on the way that you've traditionally always done things that AI gives you another angle, another way of looking at things, and gives you innovative solutions. It helps employees to overcome things like creative blocks and different approaches, and giving them different approaches for different challenges from a new perspective. While AI offers a lot of different benefits, workers are going to have to adapt and evolve inside their roles. I know that there are potential ethical concerns, and um, there is, a lot of different concerns that a lot of people have about AI, as well as ethical considerations as well. It means that you need to be ethical when you're using AI and very open and transparent when you are using it. There's also the whole responsible adaptation of it. How are you going to adopt AI responsibly so that you aren't violating any policies or procedures that the current business or the organization has? Yet you're still trying to maximize growth, you're still trying to maximize the opportunities as well. AI can enhance content creation by automating things like drafting or proofreading. Um, Even helps you organize your thoughts inside of a document. And this streamlines the entire workflow, the entire process for creating reports, for creating emails, and obviously for creating things like presentations. AIs can generate initial drafts very, very quickly. And It can also help us brainstorm different ideas, again, very quickly. And this accelerates the entire creative process. The whole process becomes a lot easier to kind of flow through instead of being blocked at different points in the creative process. It also helps with creative and consistent communication with people. By automating things, you're creating consistency. And in that consistency, you're also communicating in different ways, not always through email or through chats, but just through actions too. AI power tools can detect things like mistakes in grammar. It can also suggest different improvements in your writing, like the choice of words, the clarity, and it helps users produce a much more polished final product. Rather than having to go through multiple iterations yourself, you can use Copilot and leverage Copilot to become a much better writer and learn in the process. This is part of it too. AI is not really here to replace you. The idea is that it's your assistant. Um, I don't know about you, but I would love an assistant. I know it's not in the budget, but to have an assistant would free me up, would free my time up so I could actually spend time on other things. And that's really where AI shines. When it comes to working with documents, sometimes people struggle with formatting. And instead of struggling with it, you can have AI automatically apply formatting, especially if your organization has different templates or they have a style guide. Headings are supposed to be a certain size, a certain color, and AI can handle all of that stuff. It can also help with just the organization of your thoughts inside of a document or presentation and present them in a different way that might be more compelling. And this saves you time. It makes you much more efficient. It obviously saves you time and makes it easier for for you to edit these things so that you're not manually spending so much time reworking and reiterating your thoughts or whatever it is that you might be working on. AI also helps to facilitate efficient research. Now, you do have to be very careful with exactly what it is that AI might be working on, where it gets the information from. And that's where the whole grounding process kind of comes in. You want to make sure that the information that you're getting is correct. And it's no different than, say, a real assistant. You should be checking what your assistant is doing and working on to make sure that it's factual, to make sure that they have the information correct. So, yes, um, it can help you with research. It can help you identify information. It can help you to summarize really lengthy things, but you're still the pilot. You're still the person that is in control. You're the chef. You're the one that kind of heads the whole thing up. So so AI still needs you. It still needs you to decide different things, to give it things to do, much like a real assistant. And when it comes to searching for information, there are different algorithms that helps to find information across the internet or find information inside of documents or in SharePoint or even in chats. Depending on which AI that we're talking about, you can find relevant information very, very quickly, very efficiently, and you can make sure that your AI is pulling from resources that are accurate and that are up to date. AI tools can also help condense extensive text. Um, even just your inbox. You're away on vacation for 2 weeks. Do you really want to go through every single piece of email? I mean, sure, at some point, yeah, you should probably open it all up and take a look at it. But in the meantime, you can ask AI different questions like go through my inbox and tell me what's important. What should I be responding to right away? Much like a real assistant. So, not only does it make it easier to search for information or to condense information from long documents or long emails, but you can also summarize things like an entire inbox. You can also get it to highlight key points, whether it's in an email or in a document, it doesn't matter. You can ask it, hey, what is important in this article, in this report, in this document, or in my inbox? And obviously, this saves you time. This makes you much more efficient. Rather than having to open up every single email and realize there was nothing in there for you anyways, it saves you that time, much like a real assistant. And obviously, having that time back means that you can spend it in places that actually require your expertise. I think one of the best things that I use it for myself anyways, is analyzing data. I'm a bit of a data geek. I love working with data. And luckily enough, so does AI. AI can help you analyze data and analyze data in different ways. Um, I love the fact now that I can use my Python scripts inside of Excel and not have to use it in other programs in order to analyze data. I can just use it in Excel, but not everybody is proficient in Python. But by using AI, you can get AI to analyze the data using Python all by itself with no input from you. I mean, these are some of the different things that you can do with data and information that you're presented with sometimes, even text. It can help to identify different trends and critical information in text and be able to figure out what the sentiment is inside of a paragraph or inside of a bunch of reviews that might be reviewing your products or your company. Um, it also supports and helps to support a much more effective evidence-based decision. So when you're trying to make decisions, you want to make sure that you have all the relevant information in front of you. And trying to digest all of that information sometimes can be a full-time job. Translation has never been simpler. Um, is it perfect? Not really, but sometimes even human translators don't get it right. There's dialect, there's the different nuances that goes along with language, and a whole host of other things. But there are language tools, AI translation tools that do a pretty good job. And a lot of times you're using it to get the gist of what they're saying. It's not that you're looking for word translation. It's that you have a document. Maybe it's not in a language that you're familiar with, and it's kind of nice to have it translated over. Or the other way. Maybe, the document is in English, and it would be much better if the document was in a different language for you, whatever that language is. You have to admit, reading stuff in your own language is a lot more comfortable than constantly translating stuff in your head. And this helps to break down some of the international barriers that we have with business. It improves collaboration and improves accessibility, but across borders. When it comes to accurate translation, it's pretty darn good. It's scary good sometimes. It provides some pretty accurate translation, whether it's a formal document or something more casual like an email. And obviously, this helps to ensure more clear communication with global partners. Um, it's a small world. It really is, and it seems like it's getting smaller all the time. It's not unusual to be working and collaborating with somebody that's on the other side of the world. And if we don't speak, the same language, it makes things harder. If we have some sort of translator between us, that sure makes things a lot easier and makes the goal of communication and working collaboratively uh, a lot more attainable. Some of the benefits that you get with real-time translation means that you're bridging the language gaps. It means that communication becomes a lot easier and a lot simpler between teams. And the benefit of that, of course, is the enhanced teamwork. It means that teams can communicate effectively, even though they might speak completely different languages, and obviously makes you a lot more productive. AI translation also helps to localize things. It expands the reach by using localized content for more diverse audiences. It enhances engagement and also makes people feel included too. You have to admit, um, video comes out, documentation comes out, and it's in your language. That just makes you feel more part of the team. It makes you feel more part of the organization, and they haven't left you out. They included you. AI tools can also help tailor messaging, especially when we're talking about different audiences. Different audiences will respond to different things. It also ensures that we're being professional, we're being clear, and also culturally sensitive when we're communicating with other people too. Being able to adjust the tone to match the format of how we're presenting the information or what the information is being presented in, whether it's more formal or more casual, it allows you to adopt that tone simply and easily without having to constantly rewrite things. And it also means that the audience is much more engaged. Um, if we're communicating better, if the tone matches the department or the situation, then the audience is much more engaged. And it also helps us to consider context so that we're optimizing that message and making sure that the message is being communicated in a way that maximizes the effectiveness of the message. You get a more polished tone. It does. Being able to rewrite a sentence 4 and 5 times without actually having to rewrite it means that you have your choice of all these designed sentences and paragraphs that you get to choose from. You get to choose which one actually fits and which one has a clearer tone. It also reduces misunderstandings and mishaps. It avoids confusion a lot of times where things might not be quite clear, worded a certain way. You can make sure that whatever AI that you're using ensures that there's a certain message that needs to that needs to come across when we're creating this presentation or this paragraph or a single sentence. And obviously, if you're sensitive in that way and you're a better communicator, this enhances your corporate image. Everybody knows that anything that comes from your organization is going to be quite clear. The messaging will be clear and available in multiple languages, possibly. The role of AI also helps to identify and avoid potentially insensitive language. Sometimes we use different words that have evolved over time, and it's no longer appropriate to use certain expressions or certain words, especially in different cultures. And trying to keep on top of all that stuff can be a daunting task. And using AI, this helps to ensure that yes, it is culturally appropriate. You have different flags that AI will use in order to let you know that certain things are insensitive, and having AI rewrite it again just improves the communication, but it also promotes respect and inclusivity as well. The next thing I'd like to do is I want to talk about some of the different popular AI tools that are out there. And I know everybody has their favorites. Honestly, the list that I would love to show you is as long as I am tall. Honestly, just a huge list of different AI tools that I use myself. There's lots of them. However, I just want to focus on a couple. ChatGPT, you can't avoid that one. You've probably already heard of that one. But the other two you might not have heard of. So I wanted to bring in one that's familiar to you and two that might not be so familiar to you. ChatGPT, I think, is quite a popular one. I think most people have heard about it, and you can use it for a whole host of different things. And I'm sure even as I'm speaking and presenting right now, they're probably still working on a whole bunch of other tools that are going to, come with ChatGPT. But for now, this is some of the stuff that I'm quite familiar with. For instance, meeting notes, being able to generate meeting notes. You can't multitask. I don't care what anybody says. You can either be good at one thing the whole time or lousy at a bunch of things that you're trying to do all at the same time. And when you're trying to pay attention in a meeting and you're writing notes, you're going to miss stuff. You know you're going to miss stuff. You know you miss stuff. When we have an assistant taking the notes, that's so much better. It's more organized a lot of times because the assistant is paying attention to writing the notes and not necessarily paying attention to the information that's being disseminated to the group. So ChatGPT can act as your assistant so that you get accurate meeting notes. especially with things like who said what and at what was the sequence of different things. It can also help you summarize different documents, especially really, really, really long ones. Yeah. As an instructor, yeah, I still get a lot of documents, a lot of long documents. I need to be familiar with different programs and other things as well, and that can be a lot of reading. The last document that I had to go through yesterday was about 700 pages, and running it through AI meant that I could summarize the document very easily, very quickly, and get the gist of the idea of what the document was trying to tell me. All the key points were pulled out, so I had a still a lengthy summary at 700 pages, but at least it wasn't 700 pages. It was a few paragraphs, but I'd rather read a few paragraphs than 700 pages. And then it also provided different references throughout it as well. I was able to click on different parts of the sentence that would actually take me to that section of the document. So yeah, it does document summarization, and it can also help with your writing. It can help you adjust your tone when you're trying to be more sympathetic or more professional or maybe more casual. Um, if you haven't picked up on it, if you take a class with me, you'll get it pretty quick. But I'm a geek. I'm IT, and that means that a lot of times my communication is very direct and to the point. And sometimes that's not always the best way to communicate. Yeah. So ChatGPT and other AI allows me to adjust my tone. It affects my writing style, and it helps to suit the tone and the writing style to the situation. And ChatGPT is perfect for things like that. You might not have heard of QuillBot before, but QuillBot will assist in things like paraphrasing reports, getting a summary of that report, or enhancing your grammar. And I know there's a couple of caveats to the whole grammar thing, but yeah, sometimes I need help. Sometimes it's good to have a second opinion on how something is worded and the way that it's worded. It also helps you to clarify things like presentations. And overall, this improves the quality of document that you're putting out there, and obviously the readability as well. And this helps to engage the audience. So, whatever it is that you're producing with QuillBot, you know that you can enhance it in many different ways that would help to engage the audience and make it a much more interesting document. DeepL has changed quite a bit. They've added a few neat things other than the translation, but yeah, I mean that's was its claim to fame is the fact that DeepL does an excellent job of translation. The large language model that they use is just incredible. It really does a great job and does it in many, many different languages. You might actually be surprised by the list. And I love some of the different nuances too, like the difference between um, Latin American Spanish, right, and European Spanish. So it's things like that. Like there's all these different nuances when it comes to language, and DeepL does a great job of handling all that stuff. It can support translation of really important forms like government forms. Um, and obviously, if we're translating things, this helps with team collaboration too. It also supports localization. So it enables you to appeal to local audiences and, again, be culturally sensitive and things like that when you're translating different types of documents. So, in all, it enhances productivity, it fosters creativity, and it helps to improve your communication. But the best way for me to show you how all this stuff works is to actually go through some of this. That's what I want to do next. Here is QuillBot. So I'm going to start with QuillBot. I'll go into DeepL, and then I'll go into ChatGPT because I think a lot more people are familiar with ChatGPT. So let's talk about QuillBot first. Here I can grab different documents. If I've got a Word document that I'm working on, for instance, and I can take this Word document and I can copy and paste something out of a Word document. I can also just write. If I have something that I'm thinking of, something that I'm trying to process, for instance, then yeah, I'd be able to just write in there. I wouldn't have to paste. But here, for instance, I'll take a paragraph here, and this is just talking about battery life on a camera, and I'll paste this in here. I can get it to paraphrase this. Takes a bit, but on the right-hand side, it paraphrases and rewrites this. There's also some interesting activity that you get along with this too. I'm able to click on different words or different sentences and rearrange it or rewrite it just by clicking on top of it. The median amount, the typical amount, the average amount. These are things that we would normally run through a thesaurus, for instance. But I'm doing it here right on the sentence itself. I can click on different words, and there's my thesaurus. I can click on average, for instance, and say, yeah, the median amount or the typical amount of shots that one can take before the battery runs out, right? But I'm rewriting this. And here, this is just the standard mode. You also have other modes too. Fluency, humanize it to make it sound more like something a human being would actually say. I could make it more formal and more academic. Obviously, there's also a paid tier to some of these things too. So yes, if I click on some of these other ones that are here, there is a paid tier to some of these. But fluency, for instance, I can click on this one and have it rephrase it for fluency. And again, it's interactive. So I can rephrase this. I can just click on different things, and there's the thesaurus again. I can take a look at different statistics with it, adjust the tone. I have different compare modes and also a history, but anything with a diamond is something that you're going to have to pay for. This is just a paraphraser. You also have grammar check, AI detector, plagiarism detector, the AI humanizer, and there's more. So this is definitely the little tool that grew. QuillBot now is a whole lot of different types of AI tools. And depending on what you're looking for, might be a one-stop shop for you. The other one is DeepL. I've used this for translation for a lot of different things. And I always tell people, look, if you're really interested in translation, make sure that you actually run it by the person that actually speaks that language and get them to go over it. Other than that, the idea is that this is for you. This is so that I can, cut, paste, drop different things in here. And if it's not in my language, I can have it translated to a different language. This is the Spanish that I'm more familiar with, Latin America. There are some nuances between the different types of Spanish that's spoken throughout the world. But, it's got all kinds of different types of languages here, just loads. And again, there are different paid levels to this as well. But, I can scroll through here and I can switch this to Danish or Dutch or Czech or Finnish, Estonian. A lot of your major ones are here. There are some other ones that you don't come across, or at least I don't come across all that often. Here's Italian, and this is another one that I'm not so bad with. I'm not too bad with Italian, but decent job. Not bad at all. There's also the text language. So, if you're working with something and say you are not familiar with what language this is in, when you paste in different things, it will detect the language for you, and it does a pretty decent job of it. Then I can have it translated back into, say, English, and there is a difference between American and British English. Again, British is more what I'm familiar with. So yeah, does a decent job. There are some other tools that you can use along with it. There's DeepL Write, for instance, and they've got some other products now too. Voice will actually translate in real time, which is also kind of neat. And there are some APIs that you can use if you want to use DeepL for other things that you might be working on. The last one is ChatGPT, and you're probably familiar with this one, at least somewhat. Um, I should mention with most AI, when the conversation changes, you should really start a new chat. If the topic changes, start a new chat. Your different chats will be sitting here on the left-hand side, but I can come here and I can ask it pretty much any question at all. How has AI changed the work environment? If you're still on the fence about using AI and you're not sure exactly what to use it for, use it instead of Google. Yeah, for instance, if I go to new chat, if I really wanted to know what theaters are, sorry, in my area, I can clarify it a little bit, right? Give it some more information. When you're using AI, they always talk about prompt engineering and things like that. Look, treat it like a human being. Have a conversation with it. If I just ask somebody what theaters are in my area, then it's probably going to give me just exactly that. But if I give it some more context, if I tell it what I like and what I don't like, what I expect, if I frame it, then the responses are different, especially if you can attach a document and tell it this is more information that you can use in order to answer my question. They call that grounding. But I can kind of clarify this a little bit and let it know that I like small theaters, no big crowds. I can also tell it I like older movies as well. Is there anything like that in my area? And it does a half decent job. I didn't tell it where I live. It figured that out on its own. I didn't have to tell it. Yes, I'm in Mississauga, technically. Technically a Tobico, but you got to be from the area to know that, right? If you're from the area, then we distinguish the different boroughs. But yeah, historic theaters, the Credit Theater. There's also the Dixie Five Theater. Um, so just lets me know that hey, look, there's not a lot of these, but yeah, I can increase the radius and do all kinds of other stuff. But the other part of this is the sources, and I kind of mentioned this in the presentation. You need to know where it's getting the information from, and by looking at all the different sources, this for me replaces a search engine. Search engines used to be handy, and I don't find them handy anymore. When I type into a search engine and ask it for something, it gives me a whole bunch of different web pages back. And a lot of those web pages, they've paid to be at the top of the list, which means that they might not be the best web pages to look through. And really, when I go to things like Google and I Google stuff, Google just hands me a bunch of websites back. It's almost as if it turns to me and says, yeah, I narrowed it down a little bit for you. You're going to have to search the rest, right? And that's not what I'm looking for. A lot of times, I'm looking for the answer. I want to know something. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to have to go through all these different web pages to see if that web page has exactly what it is that I'm looking for or exactly what it is that I'm trying to find. So instead of using Google, try using this. Use AI. And I don't care what AI that you use. You could use Grok, you could use ChatGPT, you could use Copilot. I don't care which one that you use. Obviously, do not violate your policies and procedures at work. But instead of Googling stuff all the time, try using AI. In fact, Anytime I want to know where technology is headed in certain areas, just stop any 12-year-old kid. Ask them, do you still Google stuff? They'll tell you no. Search engines are dead. They use AI to search. And this is the reason why. Everybody gets tired of the fact that they've gamed the system. Different businesses have gamed the system so that the first page that you get are mostly sponsored results and not exactly the best results that you're looking for. And I remember 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't like that. It was different. Search engines were a little bit more accurate, a lot more accurate. And if you go back even further, they were a lot better. And over time, people have gamed the system. And unfortunately, I don't find search engines all that useful anymore. AI is also not going to replace you. Not really. If you've been watching the tech news lately, a lot of different companies that have laid people off expecting that AI was going to pick up the slack, they've hired them back. And that's because there's no replacing you. You're the one that has to have the initial idea. You're the one that has to tell AI what to do. And you're the one that has to frame things in certain ways so that, yes, you get the answer that you're looking for back. And for that, we still need human beings. This is your assistant. This is a job enhancement. We're going from typewriters to word processing on a computer. And this is the same type of thing. So this this is your assistant and treat it that way. You're going to have to double check what your assistant does. You're going to have to give your assistant direction. And sometimes your assistant isn't going to get it right the first time. So iteration is extremely important. Tell your assistant what it did right. Tell it what it did wrong. Tell it what you expect. And if you can somehow give it different examples by way of a document, a presentation, anything at all, a website, anything at all, that helps to ground it so it understands and can kind of contextualize what it is that you are actually looking for. And by treating it that way, you'll get much better responses out of AI. So, yeah, you can watch all kinds of YouTube videos that talks about being a prompt master and all this other stuff. But I mean, if you really ask yourself, does it make sense that you're going to have to learn how to ask a question? No. Have a conversation with it. Pretend that it knows nothing. Pretend that it's an assistant. Pretend that it's a very green assistant that needs some direction and give it proper direction. But overall, I have to tell you, AI probably saves me anywhere from 9 to 30 hours a week. I don't always want to be rewording stuff myself. I love the idea that I can take a paragraph and tell AI to take this paragraph and turn it into bullet points or the other way around. There are so many different things that you do in the course of a day that is kind of a menial task compared to your actual talents. So by using AI, it just ensures that you have more time for your actual skills and your actual talents that your business requires. And overall, once everybody starts using it, the level of professionalism, just the skills that will be developed, will definitely enhance the business. Not everybody is good at writing, and not everybody is good at Excel spreadsheets, but AI helps to level that playing field for you, so that yes, you might not be an Excel wizard, but with the help of AI, you can kind of level that playing field and fill in that gap. So I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Well, Greg, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I hope everyone found it helpful. I'm going to go through a couple of things and then we're going to take questions. So if you have any more questions that you haven't asked, please drop them in the chat. I'm just going to share my screen. So if you are interested in learning more on this topic, give me one sec. If you're on our website and you go to our courses menu, you can go over to Programming and Specialty AI. Okay, and if you want to learn more about using AI in your workplace, some of the tools that you can use, like some more than even what Greg introduced today, we have courses and training and workshops for that type of information. If you're using Copilot, maybe you're not at the point of using Copilot yet, but you want to introduce Copilot or think about using it. We have great training for that. We have training or courses if you want to look into how Copilot integrates with your Office courses and how you can use it. And then even AI with Copilot. Um, and we have many options, whether you want to learn about the Copilot version, that free version that's included with your Office apps. If you want to learn more about the paid version, we have training for all of that. Maybe you want to host your own AI or Copilot webinar and do it as like a lunch and learn or for your own learning event. Those are all things we can help you with. If that's something you want help with, please feel free to reach out to us. I just want to show you a couple of things. So we still have a couple more webinars coming up on our schedule this year. A really common thing is clients or people want to keep up with the new features Microsoft is introducing. So we're going to talk about upskilling with Microsoft Teams. We also have coming up business writing. That's a really good skill to have. And then file management, even like how why would you would use OneDrive over SharePoint, how they work. So if you haven't already and these topics interest you, please go to our upcoming webinars and you can sign up for free. They're all free. Under our free downloads, I want to mention we do have a really good download on best Copilot prompts. You heard Greg mention how important prompting is when using AI. We also did a Copilot webinar a little while ago, and I'm going to get Susan to drop the link to the replay in the chat, and she'll include it in the follow-up email on Friday if that's something you're interested in learning more about. Okay, so just before we take questions, I was just going to say I was looking at the comments during the webinar. I just want to say, I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for sharing whether you're using AI and what tools you're using. So we have in our audience some who are new to the topic, some who have started to use it, but it's not part of their everyday workflow. And then if you saw the comments, you'll see lots and lots of people are using Copilot and ChatGPT, probably the most. And then I did see mention of Grok and DeepL. So we are really using it in our workflow. Okay, Greg, why don't we jump into those questions?
Absolutely. First question I have here is I can make sure that AI does not make me dumber. I always relate it back to the calculator. Um, if you still need to be practicing certain skills, you still need to to read books and do your own research. Just because you have AI, you know, doesn't necessarily mean that it does all the work. You still have to read stuff. You still have to know and do your own research so that you can kind of, like an assistant, kind of cross check and make sure that yes, it is correct and it's doing things correctly. But you're right. You have to be careful that you don't completely rely on AI and get it to use everything. So when AI generates different things, your responsibility is to double check, make sure that it's done it correctly. And the only way that you'll know that is by doing some of the work yourself. But yeah, I know there's a big concern of that, but still read books, still do research, head to the library every once in a while. That helps. Are you already using AI at work? Yes, I've been using it now for, oh, sorry, that was Susan's question. My bad. Sorry, Susan. Can you speak to the difference between ChatGPT and Copilot? Yes. On the ultimate kind of perfect scale, Copilot is integrated into everything that it is that you do in your business, and ChatGPT is not. Not to mention, when you put stuff into ChatGPT, whether it's documents, information, they use that to train their learning model. Microsoft does not do that. Even if you pay for the full-blown version and it has access to all your documents and all your chats, none of that leaves your tenant. Microsoft does not use that in any way, shape, or form for marketing, for training their models, for anything at all. So when you're using Copilot and you see that green shield at the top of Copilot, that means that The conversation that you are having between you and Copilot stays between you and Copilot. Not only that, Copilot also respects your permissions in your organization. So if you don't have access to something, Copilot's not going to circumvent that. How can I make AI learn better? I've actually been waiting to get to that question, and I want you to look up this. I'm going to drop this in a chat. It's called Notebook LM. This is a product by Google. If you know anybody that has any learning disabilities, get them to use Notebook LM. Or if you know anybody that finds studying boring, I don't know if you know anybody like that, but if you do, use Notebook LM, and it's going to make learning a whole lot simpler, a whole lot easier, and a whole lot more interesting than just sitting there reading the book. So it's kind of like Cole's notes on steroids. How do you make sure it's safe? Or sorry, yeah, did this one? Yeah, I did. So yeah. Which AI language translates accurately? My best suggestion right now would be DeepL. That's their thing. That's their bag. That's the whole reason that that AI was developed. And I find that it has the most accurate translations. Any thoughts on why the CEO would want to dictate which AI program is used throughout the organization? Absolutely. A lot of these different AIs that are out there, especially if they have a free tier, they're learning from you. They're using your documents, your information, your email, whatever it is that you are putting into that model. They are using your information in many different ways. Um, so, as a CIO or a CFO, I'd be very concerned about which AI we're using. And the only type of AI that I would use would be one that has an agreement with me that they are not going to use any of my information in any way, shape, or form. Because some of the stuff that you might work on is that top secret and needs to be that protected. How do you know about new stuff? It's in my personality. Um, where do you find it? Um, Man, that's such a hard one to be honest with you. Um, I'm always reading stuff like Wired. Um, there's different podcasts and things that I watch, but that's a tough question for me because that's my personality. I'm just an extremely curious person. You heard at the beginning that I collect guitars. I ran a studio for years. I have many, many different interests, not just with computers, but just technology as an umbrella. I don't care what it is. I I have so many different interests. So for myself, that's a bit of a tough one. How do you make sure it's safe? Do research, Google it. Ask some questions, ask around, and that's the best way. Word of mouth is always the best. Snoops is a really good site for other stuff as well. If SNOPES, take a look at that website. That's really good for checking out to see if things are legit or not. Almost all the tools require a login, so yeah, you know, it, a lot of them do want you to log in with email address and password. So yeah, you do have to set up accounts with a lot of this stuff. Um, and how do I use it in Excel? I use it to analyze data. Formulas and that, it would be really good for users that are intimidated by formulas. It would be perfect for that. So if you find formulas in Excel intimidating, um, take a look at AI, take a look at Copilot specifically. But whatever AI that you use, it helps you to decipher formulas, especially if you've inherited somebody's formula. That's the worst. Do you have tools or tips to use AI while trying to keep the environment impact as slow as possible? Um, yeah, you'll notice that the speeds are a little bit different sometimes. So the way that I treat AI, it's like a real assistant. I tell it, "Hey, go do this," and then I don't sit there and watch it. I'll go off, I'll do something else, I'll come back to it, and a lot of times by that time, it's finished doing whatever it needs to do. So yeah, a lot of times I'll have different windows open, be logged into a bunch of different tools, and be having conversations with different AI tools. Even Copilot, I'll open up Copilot in different tabs and kind of cheat and ask it a bunch of questions in a bunch of different tabs. Right? Hey, it's AI, so you might as well use it.
Hey, Greg, sorry, I'm
Which
just going to jump in for 1 sec. So we try to keep the webinar to an hour in case that you're doing this on your lunch break. We're going to keep going through and we're going to keep answering all the questions. If you have to go to work, go back to work, like no problem. We'll make sure this is all part of the recording that we'll give you the link to on Friday.
um So yeah, kind of a duplicate question. Which AI assistant helps with creating Excel spreadsheets? Honestly, hands down, Copilot. Copilot's the best. I've used other stuff. You get what you pay for. Copilot's the best. I've really enjoyed using it, to be honest. What are some of the most important ethical use of AI at work? Um, I think the biggest thing is that when you get something from AI, consider rewriting it. It's a really good idea. AI is going to quote different things sometimes, and I think it's a good idea that you either rewrite it yourself or you get AI to help you rewrite it, and that way you kind of avoid a lot of plagiarism uh, things that you might accidentally run into. This one's more for Joy, I think. Is there a
Yeah,
course?
so yep. Is there a course with AI focused on Excel? To get this done, do we need the paid version? What are my limitations on privacy with submitting data? So I'll answer the first part. So the short answer is yes, if you want to learn more about AI or even Copilot, specifically working with Excel, just reach out to us and yes, we can make sure we work with you on that. That's not a problem.
When it comes to limitations on privacy with submitting data, if we're talking about Copilot, there is a ton of different features that Copilot has to protect data. One of them is Microsoft Purview. So if you're using Microsoft Purview, which you should be, it helps to protect your data in the organization. So look into that, and that will ensure that protected data stays protected.
Oh, Greg, can you just answer the part of their question where I'm going to say the answer is no. To get this done, do we need the paid version?
Right.
So there's pros and cons, like there's pros to using the free version, and then there's other things you can do basically, I'd say, with the paid version.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You get what you pay for. The free version of Copilot still does quite a bit, quite a lot, but just doesn't do it as well as the paid version does. So free version is still good, just not as good as the paid version. And I think that's it.
Okay,
Oh, should
perfect.
I be using AI for my schoolwork, and which one should give me the best resource source? Yeah, I can't answer that one because um, check with your school. No different than an organization. You got to make sure that you are not breaking any rules. So check with your school and make sure that that is something you can use. Notebook LM is the one that I would suggest that you use, though. How to use AI to summarize an in-person meeting? Um, you could turn it on like a note taker. So there's a couple of different note takers that will work with a microphone. You have a microphone a lot of times built into your laptop, and that would be the best for an in-person meeting.
There's one more. What type of routine tasks can be automated with Copilot?
Name it. Honestly, it's that crazy. Copilot can help leverage what's called Microsoft um, Power Automate. And the combination of the two, you can automate anything. It's just wild. So take a look at Automate. Um, Copilot is built into it. So when you look at Power Automate, Copilot's right there. And the combination of the two is just a match made in heaven.
Actually, I think your answer to like name it, when I read that question, there's so many things I'm thinking of, like summarizing minutes in like a Teams meeting, right? If you turn on transcription, right, or the recording, like you were talking about, all the formatting can be like very automated and everything. Help you get going. Sometimes you have to write something you just can't get going, right? Even to get you started, right? Sometimes you write something, you're like, this isn't quite it, and you can get to tweak it, and you could say, be more concise, be more professional, be friendly, like stuff like that. And I'd say across the board, eh, Greg, like in all the Office
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
programs. Yep, yep. And it's just gonna keep growing for sure. Okay, well, everyone, thank you. Well, first, thank you so much to Greg for presenting such a informative and helpful webinar. We really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who attended, and we hope you got a lot out of it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much to our host, Joy, and to our presenter, Greg, for an amazing webinar. And thanks again to all of you, as Joy mentioned, for taking the time on your lunch or whatever to join us. We're going to close the room now, but you'll receive a link to the replay of the webinar, the practical handout within 2 business days, Friday. I'll also include any links, items of mention, and the timestamps for the answers to your questions. Until next time, stay inspired and have a fabulous afternoon. Bye for now.